Hello everybody. Welcome to the What If Zone. I am the narrator, telling you all a story about Izuku becoming the feared serial murderer called Ghostface. Chapter 3, Team Battle Royale. All Might busts through the door, I am here. Coming through the door like a normal person. Everyone becomes ecstatic, excited, every word of joy you can think of, except for two. Toga and Izuku are just smiling widely, for different reasons. All Might explains they are going to be put into different two-squad teams. If a teammate gets captured, as long as your other member isn't captured, you can be set free by them. He brings out a random wheel spinner to choose the different teams. The students get into their hero costumes and compliment each other. Izuku's costume is fully black, with a black hood. He's got a belt with 5 pouches and a couple sheaths for his knives, along with a bulletproof vest that has more sheaths. He's got black combat boots and black gloves. His knives have lines etched into the hilt of each one, signifying how many kills he's got with each knife. Toga is wearing mostly black clothes, having white stripes on the sides of her pants and shirt. She wears black gloves and black running shoes. She's also got some syringes attached to her bulletproof vest. Achiko's costume stays relatively the same, however, she's also got a bulletproof vest and a lot more black. The teams go as follows. Team 1 Tokoyami and Sato. Team 2 Shoji and Todoroki. Team 3 Mineta and Siro. Team 4 Uraraka and Izuku. Team 5 Ojiro and Tsuyu. Team 6 Ida and Katsuki. Team 7 Toga and Momo. Team 8 Denki and Aoyama. Team 9 Jiro and Kirishima. Team 10 Mina and Hagakure. A note from the narrator. I used a random wheel to decide the teams. It seems fate has put Izuku and Katsuki on the same teammates. Everyone goes to their teammates and talks with their respective team members. Bakugo gives a death glare towards Izuku, ignoring Ida. Izuku stares at Katsuki, gives a grin, and talks with Achiko about a plan to take out everyone. Izuku asks Achiko, "So, what ideas do you have?" Well, Achiko begins, "We could use my quirk to send small objects flying at people with more speed, while using bigger objects to distract them or crushing them." That sounds like an awesome plan, Achiko. She blushes and says, "Thanks, Izuku-kun." We could also. Izuku couldn't finish the sentence, as a blush spreads across his face. "Izuku-kun?" Achiko smiles and looks towards Toga, in which Toga returns with a thumbs up. Izuku is taken aback by this, as he's unsure what is happening. Sure, teasing and getting red-faced was fun and all, but is Toga really starting to like Achiko that much, to have let her say Izuku-kun? Izuku also looks to Toga, giving her a questioning look. Toga just sticks her tongue out and winks, going back to talk with Momo. Izuku goes back to talking with Achiko, suggesting, well, maybe we could use some sharper objects too, to like scare them or something. I agree. We could hide in darker places as well, to give us an advantage since I am wearing a pretty dark hero costume. Yeah, that sounds great. I could be the distraction, while you come from behind with the capture tape, and take them down. Achiko releases killer intent with her fist in the air, shocking everyone and making them stop talking. Toga smirk on the inside, saying she made the right choice to include Achiko with their schemes. Izuku also is in awe of Achiko's killer intent, realizing she is a nice addition to their group. Maybe there could be more students willing to help? Achiko and Izuku make their way to a rundown building in the mock city, and begin their plan. Achiko grabs many small items scattered around, while Izuku takes out his knife, which was given a green light by All Might. He then shatters some glass and put it into one of his pouches. Achiko makes the items weightless, so they could roam around better and more silently. Once All Might says begin, all the students get on guard, but Bakugo and Todoroki instantly go on the offensive. Bakugo and Ida take down teams 1 and 5 in their pursuit to find Izuku. Todoroki and Shoji take down team 10, not really rushing too much. Now, let's get to team 9. Kirishima asks, "Where should we go from here?" I mean, we're bound to run into a team at some point. Jiro questions, "I don't know?" I mean, we could roam around and take down the weakest team. That would be unmanly. I'd rather test my strength. Jiro sighs, well, she's cut off when she hears some glass fall. Both Jiro and Kirishima get on guard. They hear more glass fall, then a window shatters next to them. Jiro asks, "What's going on, Kirishima?" He responds, "I don't know." Jiro puts her earphone jacks into the ground to see if she can hear movement. She doesn't hear a thing, which makes her nervous. "I don't hear anything." Kirishima questions, "How come?" "I don't know, wait, what?" "Get down." Just then, a hooded figure breaks through a very broken door, tackling Kirishima through a thin and rundown wall. When Jiro was about to send out her earphone jacks to zap Izuku, glass going at high velocities zip past Jiro, cutting her cheek. Her jacks retreat and her body moves on its own, ducking as more glass whizzes past her. Jiro thinks to herself, that could have hit me in the neck. She sees Achiko come from a corner, dashing surprisingly fast towards her. Jiro can't dodge and is punched square in the jaw. She holds her jaw, and reflexively sends her earphone jacks towards Achiko. Achiko dodges, and counters by tugging on Jiro's jacks. Jiro is in a lot of pain now, and can't react to Achiko's knee hurtling towards her face. She's kneed in the face and is captured by Achiko. With Izuku and Kirishima, they're fighting each other rather aggressively. Kirishima thinks it's rather manly, but Izuku was thinking of ways to kill Kirishima for the future and bypass his hardening quirk. Izuku has been getting more shots in because of his speed and agility, however, whenever Kirishima gets a hit on Izuku, it feels like a rock is being thrown at him. Izuku dodges another punch, and goes to punch Kirishima's groin. He connects and Kirishima falters a bit, which gives Izuku an opening to punch him in his nose and set capture tape around him. Izuku smiles and leaves, leaving a stunned Kirishima. He's quirkless, he thinks to himself, watching Izuku leave the area to find Uraraka. Uraraka is doing some small talk with Jiro, when she spots Izuku. "Hey, Izuku-an." Izuku smiles widely, "Achiko-chan, we've got to stay quiet." "Oh, right. I'm sorry." "It's okay. How'd your costume work for you?" "It worked pretty good. The padding is tough and flexible." "That's awesome." Meanwhile, Toga and Momo have just finished off Team 8. Momo asks, "Where to now?" Toga thinks a bit. "Before purple balls are being thrown at them, it's time to take you both down." They see Mineta coming around the corner, attempting to be flirtatious, but he is pretty afraid. Momo and Toga are a bit confused, before seeing in the corner of their eye, Siro sending out tape to capture them. They both dodge, but are soon also dodging purple balls. Momo makes a couple shields and gives one to Toga. She then makes a miniature cannon behind the shields. Toga aims it at Siro, and they fire it. Siro barely dodges, but it gives the two girls time to capture Siro. However, Mineta sticks Momo's foot to the ground with one of his purple balls. What a lucky shot! Toga looks at Momo, as she makes more capture tape for her. Momo shoots the miniature cannon at Mineta, who narrowly dodges the cannonball. Toga wraps the capture tape around Mineta, but he ends up hitting the wall, bouncing off of it, and ends up in a very unfortunate spot on Toga. Toga looks down, her eyes twitching. Mineta takes the opportunity to squeeze, before being thrown up into the air by Toga, and being punched through a wall, getting knocked out. All Might thinks to himself, "I'm going to have a talk with him." Toga's rage subsided, and helped Momo get free from the purple ball, throwing it at Mineta's body. All Might sighs at this, thinking this class will be somewhat troublesome. He has no idea what will soon transpire. Izuku and Achiko are finding a new hiding place, leaving the area where Jiro and Kirishima are, as Jiro is laying on the ground and Kirishima sits up against the wall. Kirishima says, "They really got us good, didn't they, Jiro nods, "Yeah they did. It was impressive." Kirishima nods his head. They both continue small talk. Izuku and Uraraka find a great place to sneak about. It's an apartment building 10 stories tall. Izuku looks in every room, seeing what he could use for traps. Uraraka makes things weightless, leaving them on the ground so they don't seem out of place. They hear someone running extremely fast. Uraraka finds Izuku, telling him that Ida is in the building, looking a bit irritated. Izuku grins and goes to the power room. He messes with some wiring which makes some of the lights in the building flicker. Ida becomes on edge after this. He questions why All Might would allow such trickery. Izuku throws a small drawer at Ida that was made weightless. He barely dodges, and is tackled by Izuku. However, Ida uses his legs to knee Izuku in the stomach. He gets off of Ida and runs off into a room. Ida follows, wanting to eliminate the opposing team, but he's ambushed by Achiko. She jumps on his back, putting him in a chokehold. Ida elbows her side several times, but is then feeling immense pain in his stomach. He looks down and sees that a chair was destroyed on the ground. He then feels pain on most of his body, as the chair was broken on impact. Pieces of the chair were protruding out of him. Ida passes out and is captured. Izuku helps Achiko to her feet and they both run to hide. Then explosions can be heard in the distance. Izuku freezes for a second, but Achiko puts a comforting hand on his shoulder, giving a nod to him. They both go and hide and wait for Bakugo. He does, and sees Ida knocked out in a pretty brutal way for a mock battle, which gets him excited. But he also wonders who could do this. He's lost in thought until the lights go out. The lights flicker back on and he sees Izuku standing at the end of the hallway. Bakugo flares up in anger and growls out, "Deku!" Izuku doesn't flinch. Picking up a nearby chair that Achiko touched, throws it at Bakugo. Bakugo explodes it, but is tackled to the ground. However, he explodes Deku, sending him into the air. Deku grabs something from inside his shirt and throws it at Bakugo. He dodges, and realizes a pencil is lodged into the ground where his head was at. He goes wide-eyed, coming to an understanding that Deku's pent-up rage is coming out. But, he gets his resolve and charges Deku. Deku is tackled through a wall and is now on the ground. He gives a signal to Achiko, who begins throwing several objects towards Bakugo. He dodges or explodes a couple books, pens, a drawer, and a chair. But, he's hit by some chair shrapnel, which gives Deku some time to get up and get in a few punches. Bakugo is taken back at how strong Deku has gotten. However, Deku gets thrown against the wall, and lands on the ground with a thud. Deku coughs out some spit, and goes for another charge. Bakugo, having enough of the cockroach that keeps coming back to charge at him, prepares to pull the pin on his gauntlet. All Might from the observatory was about to scream out for him to stop, but Bakugo seems to freeze up for just a second, and is tackled by Deku, who captures him with tape. All Might can see it in his eyes, fear. As if he's seen something from the past. Bakugo lies there, shaking to his core. Izuku and Achiko flee the scene, and go on to find more opponents. Bakugo slowly regains his composure, thinking to himself, "Did I see that mask again, or is my mind playing tricks on me?" We get to the final scores. I know I'm skipping, it's just I wanted to show how the Ghostface fight and where Bakugo's mind is at. We are going to go from last to first. 10th place is Team 10 Mina and Hagakure. 9th place is Team 3 Mineta and Siro. 8th place is Team 1 Tokoyami and Sato. 7th place is Team 5 Ojiro and Tsuyu. 6th place is Team 8 Denki and Aoyama. 5th place is Team 9 Kirishima and Jiro. 4th place is Team 6 Ida and Katsuki. 3rd place is Team 7 Toga and Momo. 2nd place is Team 4 Uraraka and Izuku. 1st place is Team 2 Shoji and Todoroki. All Might congratulates everyone for putting forth their best efforts. He then looks towards Mineta. "We need to have a talk, young man." Mineta quivers in fear. "Oh, okay, sir." Both All Might and Mineta go into another room, and the other students begin hearing All Might's voice rise here and there, with a whimpering Mineta. Toga goes up to Izuku and Uraraka, and she explains what had happened during the test. "That little perv squeezed me." Both Izuku and Uraraka become tense with anger, releasing really harsh bloodlust towards the area All Might and Mineta were in. All Might flinches, being reminded of his greatest foe. Mineta passes out because of the intense aura. Izuku and Uraraka calmed down due to Toga's interference. Everyone in Class 1A sweat bullets. Even Bakugo and Todoroki sweat a bit. Bakugo was especially surprised, thinking to himself, is this the same Izuku I know? Or is he some sort of monster now? A quirkless nerd like him, what happened to him? All Might praises everyone on their efforts, looking at Izuku and Achiko throughout most of his praise, as they showed splendid tactics. After a while of being lectured on what they could have done better and what was done properly, the students change into their uniforms and go back to class. All of them sit in their seats, and begin talking about the exams. Bakugo and Todoroki stay silent, until Momo tries to talk to Todoroki and Bakugo. Bakugo doesn't talk back, but Todoroki does a bit of small talk. Izuku, Achiko, and Toga talk with the horror fans of Class 1A, which includes Jiro, Denki, and Mina. Izuku stares daggers, or should I say knives, into Mineta here and there. Which doesn't go unnoticed by Jiro. She questions, why and who are you looking at? Izuku looks at her with disdain, but notably not towards her. Grape head, Toga elaborates for him, he touched me when we captured him. Jiro covered her body. Denki had a jealous look, but went to anger almost instantly, while Mina asked, did it at least feel good? Every person looked at her with disgust, which Mina defended herself by saying, what, I was just curious. Izuku's heart and mind were raging. Toga could tell and put a hand on his lap. It's okay, she says seductively in his ear, we can have some fun later. Izuku's rage subsides, but then asks, could we talk later? Toga nods her head and puts her head on his shoulder, of course. Achiko, getting notably jealous, was prompted by Toga to do the same, so she does. Denki gets jealous, Jiro looks on in confusion, while Mina asks, could I join? He looks like a comfy pillow. All three look at her, telling her no. Mina pouts, no fun, and leaves the group to mingle with other classmates. The five remaining continue to talk to small talk, when the next teacher, Midnight, walks in, and instantly gets into a teasing manner when seeing Izuku, Achiko, and Toga cuddled up together. My, what fun do we have here? All the students get to their seats, while the trio get red-faced and grow stiff. But Izuku would fight back the blush and get the other two to get back to their seats. Midnight thinks to herself that this class will be very easy to tease. After the class, a red-faced Izuku, Achiko, and Toga leave the class. Izuku tugs on Toga's shoulder, we should talk, still red-faced. Toga walks away with Izuku. After 5 minutes, Achiko tries to hear what they're saying, but is stopped in her tracks when she hears yelling from Toga, who runs off into the classroom crying. Izuku doesn't appear, so Achiko peers around the corner, only to see a gloomy Izuku walking towards the bathroom. Achiko attempts to stop him, but Izuku shrugs her off. She wasn't going to let him go through whatever happened alone, so she used her quirk to throw an eraser at him, but softly. Izuku looks back with tears in his eyes, pleading for a helping hand, so Achiko walks over and hugs him tightly. They silently hug for 5 minutes, and both hold hands going to Izuku's dorm after, where Izuku is comforted for a time. Toga sniffles a bit more, before wiping her tears away, and going to her dorm. She then smirks and puts away Izuku's photos into a box, putting them away, waiting for what the future holds.